Bollywood plays an integral part in our lives and lifestyle. In fact, many of us idolize Bollywood star. We follow them. We dream about them, and that is what makes the publishers to go weak on knees for Bollywood or Bollywood-driven books. Because every one of us wants to know what's happening in the life of Bollywood star, their struggle, their lifestyle, what they do, how they have come up here. And I think so book is one of the best mediums, that is autobiography or biography, to know about the stars and their lives. And not only about the stars, but about what exactly Bollywood industry is all about. And to start with the discussion, my first question to the panelists here is, actually, is Bollywood writing picked up in the few years related to the authors or the titles or the readers?
The simple answer is, I think, yes. Because if I categorize Bollywood writing into one, biographies or autobiographies, second is narrative nonfiction, and then books based on films, like a film book on Jane Bhi Do Yaro or Diwar and all that. So if I take into the broad three categories, I think the bios and the celeb autobiographies, those have really picked up pace. They've picked up in quality and quantity both, with a lot of people getting into it. So I think the simple answer is yes.
Well, it has picked up, no doubt. But yes and no, but I think they've picked up very badly. Really, in a very poor manner. Because when earlier you had real Bollywood historians, I mean Hindi film historians writing about certain aspects, either on films or film people, and then it became the forte of journalists, and especially film journalists. So whether it's film historians or film journalists, they're both writers of film, so there is a good perspective to it. Journalists have their perspective, and the historians have their perspective, the serious scholars. And of course, it has picked up of late, but now what has become, it's a very celebrity trend. And it's a very empty kind of a writing on Bollywood. Apart from the journalists and few this thing, it has also become, the publishers like to have any, Bollywood actors, actresses, stars to write. Most of the time they're not writers, A. And B, most of it is ghost written. And most of it is not well researched. So, even if it has picked up, it's picked up because of a star name, but as far as quality is concerned, I think there's a certain deterioration over the years.
I think what's happened is that there's a lot of erasing of history that's going on, and because we don't have enough authentic sources, there's, of course, the National Film Archive. Then there are a few, things like the old Film Indias, which also are quite angular, because Babu Rao Patil, I think, was one of the most angular film editors possible. And there are old magazines which, which you have to literally buy from Raddiwalas, But I think the problem really is that a lot of the history that's being written now, in the form of autobiographies, is somewhat one-sided, and it does not give you a true picture of really everything that was happening at that point. So you have an Asha Parekh autobiography written with somebody, or you have Vijayanti Mala. So they will give you their perspective of how things were, but that may not be the whole truth. So for anyone who really wants to study cinema and wants to study how films were made, it's something that is very complicated. It's very few people like Balaji who will go to, who was the arranger of that song, who was the, the musician on the song, who sang it, who recorded it. Yeah, it's very few people who will do that kind of legwork. What's happened now is that, say, if there's a Rahul Ravel who assisted Raj Kapoor, chalo, let's get him to write a book. Or if there's, if there's a popular director like Karan Johar who's in every genre, they'll tell him, you write a book. It's really, I think now it's your social media presence that's deciding who gets to be a writer or who gets to tell their story. And my problem there is that it's not the complete story.
Right.
It never is. And that's where the problem lies. I think very few autobiographies, maybe Nasiruddin Shah's autobiography, is so totally honest that he'll also just talk about his drug use and, all the problems he had with co-stars and some of the friends he left behind and some of the new friends he made. Very few books are like that, I think.
So now, like actors are writing about health, about diet, and about so many other issues. So, do you think so? It is justified they are writing about being an actor, or it is just the star value? That's why the book is being sold.
Frankly, if it's Shilpa Shetty, what else will she write about? I'm sorry, not to take away from her filmography, but if she writes about the films she's been in, it'll be like 2 songs per film and maybe a couple of scenes. And unless she wants to tell us exactly how those films were made, some of which were blockbusters, I don't think there's much to say. So a yoga book from her is any day better than a book on
Bollywood.
Bollywood, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. I mean, if, Sonali Bendre or Shilpa Shetty, they are writing, but they write on diet and stuff like that. At least we look at them and we feel a little inspired that, okay, we might. But of course, one doesn't know how authentic it is.
Yeah.
So it's yoga as a subject which needs to be well researched,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with other stuff like diets and all. So, they might just put these fancy stuff, ingredients which you and me will never or go have a hard time buying.
Isn't it that they're just catching up with the fad? Like yoga is a fad, so they write a book on yoga, and then now mental health is a fad, so now they're writing about mental health. Right?
Yeah.
There's a recent book by Chhajed about
Yeah.
mental health problems.
See, I'll tell you one thing. With Bollywood, what happens, we all say, oh, Bollywood. Yeah. It is actually Hindi film industry, which, a lot of people take objection to, including my husband. But then that name has just stuck. So, and Bollywood is like a distortion of the Hindi cinema. But what has happened is now you don't expect much from them. Especially with the mainstream Bollywood, if you suddenly think of it, it's these actors are ageless and these actresses are all bimbettes basically. So they all feel that, okay, we've done these films, we've done these hits and we are very, gorgeous. And I think we should now write to show that we are not just beautiful outside, we also intellectually, we have a lot. So that is their way of writing. I think that is one of the main things what I've figured out from a lot of these actresses and actors, because they, just like, the commercial actors used to do a lot of commercial films, and then they do one film aimed at with a national award winning director, so that they get that one national award.
I get it.
Yeah, not a film fair, just a national award to be that, okay, I am at that level. I'm not just, getting film fair awards. I'm also at that level. So this book is just to justify that, we have brains. We have intellect. You please, understand that. Of course, not many know that most of these books are ghost written.
What's your take on this?
Well, I wouldn't know about ghost written. Maybe they are. I mean, I don't know. If it doesn't say anything, then maybe I don't know. Are people serious about knowing about Bollywood or Hindi films, as what Nandita and Kaveree said? In our age, in my growing up years, we used to be curious about KL Sehgal, Pankaj Mallik, right? PC Barua. Though they were one generation earlier, but we were curious about them. Right. Today, generation, can I say that they are curious about Mohammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar? R.D. Burman, maybe he's still current. Yeah. But if I were to talk about S.D. Burman, would they be curious or, So I think somewhere it's like the in-shots, the Insta reels, the move on, the quick, aaj movie ho gaya. Instant. Everything 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday wala, that thing, and how much money we have made, how many views we have got, and how many clicks, likes, shares. Who cares about history? And if I'm not going to care about history, I'm going to pick up a book on Bollywood and read it, unless it is by Shilpa Shetty, who's talking about fashion tips or health tips or whatever, mental health or whatever. So the actor's name comes in the front, and that's what leads me into buying the book, rather than saying that is there a well documented material out there.
So as Kaveri pointed out about social media, social media actually is one of the factors which is actually have deteriorated the stuff we are getting in the books now, Bollywood or... Hello, it's working? Yeah. Yeah, it's working. So is social media like Instagram or Facebook, it's deteriorating the books, the type of books we are getting on Bollywood or something like that?
In movies, there's certain urban legends, like Gulzar has Meena Kumari's diaries, and every day he takes out one poem from there and, passes it off as his poem. There are these, or Devika Rani gave Dilip Kumar his name. I'm still not sure. Could be not.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of these urban legends, or X was with Y when say this whole
the mystery which
Amitabh Bachchan and Rekha. These are urban legends which now everybody believes, whether it was true or not. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we've grown up with this film gossip, which is like things that we talk about at the dinner table, and a lot of it now has become social and cultural history. But no one has ever actually sat down and proven it, or actually very few people have. Say when you look at the work of, Keshwar Desai, The Longest Kiss, which actually is a history of Devika Rani and how she set up with Himanshu Rai, how she set up the studio. Or you take a lot of the scholarly work that is currently actually being done in the US, of all places, in US universities, on Indian dance, for instance, the kind of work that's being done on the various dance masters, which is a completely neglected area of Indian history, but so important because Bollywood is considered
all about dance and songs, songs and dance.
So I think there's a lot of good work that is coming, that is happening, which is possibly not visible right now. But I think over the years that will translate into more popular fiction as well. But I think there are certain urban legends that will always be there, or that Kishore Kumar was mad, or that he and Madhubala had this crazy relationship. These are all things that Dilip Kumar, Madhubala, that relationship, we've all, it's become so much part of our life, even if it's not true. I think we just believe it is. So a lot of sifting has to be done by serious cultural historians about what is true and what is not.
True, and that is where a book like Kishore Kumar, The Ultimate Biography, which is written by Anirudh Bhattacharya and Parthiv Dhar, that cuts through all these urban legends and say,
this was the man.
This is the man. This is where he was born. These are the facts.
But
these are the facts. And it's an eye-opener. So maybe the reading around Bollywood is more around gossip mags, because they subscribe to this urban legend and they convince us that that is true. I think it's somehow when it comes to Bollywood, it's about serious movie watching and serious gossip mags, but not serious about the serious things.
And also, there's a whole lot that is not available. For instance, take a star like Amitabh Bachchan. Everyone called him one-man industry. For about, he himself will not be sure whether it's 15 years or 18 years. But for 15 to 18 years, he did not speak to the film press. So there's not a mention of him in some film magazines. There may be a few stories in India Today or in Cine Blitz when he gave interviews. But there's an entire period of his life when he didn't speak to the film.
So when his movies are flop or he's not coming in the movies, the stars are not coming, so people are not talking about them or not writing about them.
No, but that was the time when he was at his peak. But if you start looking at the archives, you won't find any mention.
Fine anyway.
So, I mean, can you imagine some of the... he's possibly the biggest star India's seen.
True.
If you read just the film magazines, you'll think, hello, Mithun Chakrabarti was perhaps bigger than he was. So I think it's also the multiplicity of sources that you have to have. You have to do film magazines. People who are writing have to be serious about what they're writing. They have to go to the primary source. If the primary source is not available, go to secondary sources, but then go to scholarly writing, film writing, speak to people who were around that star. You have to do many levels of research, which not everybody can.
So when we talk about research, which is like one of the most important thing about writing a book, and when it comes to Bollywood, obviously you need a lot of research about the star, about about the star or about the people they were related to, right? And everyone has their own different perspective about that star, particular star or particular situation. But any which ways, when we talk about research, how about when if somebody's thinking about writing a book, so would you like to give any tips how to go about the research, or how to start with the research, or how to, as in all of you, three of you, as in one by one, what is important, and how to start with it, how to go about it, where to start with it? Yeah.
I think in recent times, there has been, I just made a brief mention, Kishore Kumar, The Ultimate Biography. I'll tell you why I liked it. Because it goes right to the room where Kishore Kumar was born, the school, images of his college certificate, right? Those sorts of things. Now, research has to be research, impersonal, objective. I have to take off my fanboy hat, number one. Because otherwise, I'll be looking for what I'm trying to justify, right? It shouldn't be that. Yeah. So primary source, archival, and then go and interview people, because their own interviews 20 years ago may be different from the version what they're talking about right now. And at times, there may be two different versions. Was R.D. Burman and Asha Bhosle married? We got two different versions. Anirudh and I left it at that. So these two versions, now you decide for yourself. We don't know. Because we don't have anyone saying yes or anyone saying a no. It's all he said, she said.
Marriage certificate.
There's no marriage certificate. It's all he said, she said. But at least we did the research and we said, let's put out the facts out there. In some cases, and you've got to close the arc as well. For example, Ramesh Iyer said that he had played the intro riffs in Tere Bina Jiya Jaye Na. He told me that. Then I went back and Anirudh and I were discussing. He said he graduated in 1975 from Sardar Patel College. And then he played for Bapi Lahiri, he played for Kalyanji Anandji. So when he entered Pancham scheme of things, it was sometime in 78, mid 78, and Ghar was, sorry, in 77, Ghar was released in maybe early 78. It's unlikely that he would have got into Pancham's team and Pancham would have straight away given him such a lengthy intro piece solo to play. So, but I couldn't go and tell Ramesh Iyer that you didn't play it. I had to ask him, sir, are you sure you played the intro riff? He said, no, Balaji, I played in that song. But वो intro का जो भूपी जी ने बजाया था वो मैंने कहा ठीक है. That's it. That is good. He played the chords out there, which is absolutely fair. But then, so close the arc, get alternate views, and don't wear clean trousers when you're doing research, because I had to sit down on the footpath of Daryaganj and वो रद्दी वाला का दुकान से वो निकाल के, then he said साहब यहाँ कुछ नहीं मेरे घर में, चलो घर में. Went to all the gullies, went upstairs, his second floor room, and he pulled out a whole lot of magazines. So it takes a lot.
Yeah, I agree. You have to really, because I've written 2 non-fiction, 2 biographies. This, of course, the first one on my husband. Yeah. And in my case, it was much more easier because I was living with the man for so many years. And without having to visit his sets, and especially his whole period of when he worked in the UK and US with all the stars, because he was actually the first Indian to actually be recognized in the world of cinema. People had others before them in bits and pieces. But if you go to, any of the bigger stars in Hollywood or the directors, in UK, of course, you say, Puri, yeah, they know. Yeah. And in fact, he had done a lot of British television also, as a result of which he was in the drawing room of the common middle-class British public. Right. So it was not just the, Gujarati or the Bangladeshi grocer saying Om Puri because of his film, but it was the white American in a pub, right, or a taxi, cab driver. So when he was traveling, all this, I actually got it free of cost because I was there, whether you were shooting with Jack Nicholson or Tom Hanks, or, seeing a Mike Nichols, the way they shot, or a Steven Spielberg, the way they were shooting their call sheets and our call sheets. And the only thing at that time I remember, Dawn won, and I thought Farhan's Excel had kind of closer to the West in terms of their preparation. Yeah, तो we just say, अच्छा हाँ जाओ कर लो ये scene है. बारिश हो गया तो क्या करें अभी pack up. Over there they have alternate scenes.
Scenes, yeah.
If this doesn't work, plan A, plan B. So all that was easy for me because I was married to him. I was traveling. But at the same time, you're married to him and it's very difficult. Because, but no, I could be objective. You see, I was a journalist. I am a journalist. I'm not so much anymore, but I've always been a journalist. So I had the journalist, but my husband didn't feel that, So he had his things. No, you don't write on this one. Actually, you can't write this on me. You have to write that on that. Like Mr. Bachchan has about, I think, 35 or 40 biographies, of which he says, none of them authorized by me. Okay. And out of which 4 or 5 very close people, journalists say, no, it's authorized, So maybe there's certain portions he doesn't like. So he says it's unauthorized. Maybe something is maybe that's 1% he doesn't like and he says, So that came, but then to write it objectively takes a lot. So I had, as far as research, the location and all was easy for me. But then I had to go back. And when I had to interview people, like, he worked with, whether it was Roland Joffe or Shyam Benegal or, Satyajit Ray was gone, but, Mrinalda and others and Ray's son and, going back to those from the unit members of Sadgati. So whether it was the whole of Indian directors, Priyadarshan, whatever, Kamal Hassan, or whether we were going west, it was much easier because I was there and also to get there, this thing. But then I had to also get people like Ben Kingsley, Richard Attenborough. He did one scene in Gandhi, but that was the pivotal scene because that was the scene shown at the Oscars and everyone thought, oh, this is the Indian actor. There, but actually it was only there for one scene. So it takes a lot of research. And I've seen other, Bollywood writers, family writing. It's all like, and by the grace of God, you don't bring in God in your writing. You please, writing is, and you have to be, and for me it was very difficult because I was living with a man and I, like somewhere you had to be very objective and at the same time, यार डांट भी खाते हैं यार तो क्या करें अभी so but I think somewhere the journalist in me took a little upper hand.
What's your take on the research thing?
I can say that they don't speak to me anymore, so I must have done something right. So as a journalist, actually the highest compliment is when the people you're writing about don't like what you're writing about, what you've written about them. I think for me that is the greatest compliment. So it's okay. Because there's a certain sanitized version. There's a certain sanitized version of everyone's life that they like to put out, and there certain things that they have done, all of them, in cinema or otherwise, which they may not want to be put in a book for posterity. But I think that's what a journalist should do, right?
Unbiased.
And most of film stars, their first huge egos they have.
Oh, that is what this next question was about to come, How about
They're
the star
narcissists.
tantrums? How to handle it?
They are narcissists of the first order. And even in my career in journalism, as a columnist, where I was writing in and out, I was getting a lot of,
A lot of star tantrum and the timing
gullies,
issues.
everything. I said, how do I, please? And then sometimes my husband also would say, I'm working with this director now, don't. I said, okay. At times what I did was not write about the person. I said, to hell with it. I will not write about this film. I will not review this film.
But journalists wear abuse as a badge of honor.
All the time. All the time.
I'm lucky. I interviewed over 50 of the worst
Characters. I can say that. As in, like,
More
people
than
dread
50
to do
of them.
that.
Yeah.
People dread to do that. Yeah, that's
All
like
the
a
guys
round of
who-
applause for it.
Good guys, huh? Off screen, they were good guys.
Very sweet
Yeah,
guys.
off-
Very sweet
off
guys.
screen, they were
All
such
of them.
good
All
guys.
of them.
So the heroes aren't always
They're-
the heroes
they're-
and the villains
yeah.
aren't always
Villains
The,
are
the
so
real is
sweet.
not real, and the real is not real.
Yeah, and I can talk about someone who's from Nagpur, KK Menon.
Yeah.
Such a sweet person. Even Manoj Bajpayee. Yeah, he's from Nagpur.
Okay.
You know, I met him at Raheja Lokhandwala
Okay.
at about some 9 in the night. He said, wait there, I'll come. I'll finish a shoot and come out there. He landed up and it was noisy out there. So we went by the poolside and that's why I was doing the interview, standing up. So I finished and he gave me a lot of information and insights. He's a very intelligent man. So then I said, so are you headed home? He said, no, I'm waiting for my cab, my unit to come. There's a night shoot and 70% of my shoots are in the night.
Right.
Very sweet guy. Every one of them, everyone without exception. Boman Irani, I can't name Prem Chopra Sahab, right? Anyone, you name anyone, people whom I have personally interviewed, they were so sweet, I can't tell you. Maybe you should start writing more about those people. Gali nahi milegi, right?
So we have to accept it. Real is not
And-
real, and real is not real.
I have referenced your book in terms of how Om Saab prepared for that Velankar role, Anant Velankar, the Girgaon police station, the Maramari, they call that lemonade and all that. So all those trivia I've sort of picked up from your book. Don't worry, I've referenced your book. I've not plagiarized it, but
So yeah, some fun part now. I would, as in, please let us know some, interesting story, interesting incident, or interesting any experience you had while writing your book or doing a research with the stars. So, as in, everyone would like to know. There must be so much of interesting stories you must have, to share. At least one each of you.
quite a few. Let me think. In Ux, that 100 feet fall by Manoj Bajpayee and Amitabh Bachchan, which they did, it was actually done.
Okay.
He said, if Mr. Bachchan can do that,
Right.
then I can do it. I'm
Okay.
sure I can do it. Right? He felt the confidence. Second is, Danny and Amitabh Bachchan, they started pretty much around the same time, their careers.
Okay.
Right? Very good friends, but they had never acted in a scene together for 18 years. From the first time they acted together was in Agnipath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, not this Agnipath.
Yeah,
the
but
old
still,
Agnipath,
but
89.
still they had like, that's the original one I know, but still that's like too late to, as in they've been working together from since.
Right. So 18 years, because what happened is Danny had asked for the dialogues and the assistant director had forgotten to give it, and he lost his cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to prepare, and where is it? So there was a knock on the door. He opened, and it was Mr. Bachchan standing out there. He said, "What happened? Why are you losing your cool?" No, sir. I have the dialogues. I have a copy. Chalo, let's rehearse together. So he said his calmness, his calm demeanor sort of assuaged me. And he said, Balaji, is the first time in 18 years that we've acted together in a scene.
Yeah.
I said, no, you acted in Andha Kanun, but we didn't act together in a scene, right? It was shot differently. One never realizes this unless someone points it out. So quite a few things. And even Boman Irani, he actually showed me the way a football coach walks in that movie Goal. When he's there, when the game is going on, he's shouting and screaming and yelling and tearing his hair out. When the match is over, he suddenly puts on a very gentlemanly look. He walks and shakes hands with all the opponent players one by one. He said, I have observed it and I tried to copy that.
Okay.
And he also narrated
Method
something
acting,
about
I can say that,
the last scene in Dawn, the fight scene between Shah Rukh Khan. Maybe I'll leave it for the book. So how that scene happened and why Bowman kept on hitting Shah Rukh without even stopping. So, a lot of stories like that. I mean,
So that
it's
is
so
what
much fun to interview
That
them.
is all the stories we actually got to get in this book, right? Right. About any incident you want to
please.
share, any
I'd love
story,
to hear.
any experience you want to share.
There are millions of incidents. I mean, with whether it was.
Your favorite.
No, I'm going to read a bit
Sure.
from my book. It's called Jaane Bhi Do Yaro.
Okay. Awesome.
And it is
That's
hilarious.
one of my favorites, yeah.
Yes. And I'd given this for, what's the No. The guy who wrote the book on Janavido Yaro, he's put it.
Okay.
Jay Arjun Singh. Jay. So it is hilarious. This is in Om's own words, okay? He says, I was in one of Kundan Shah's best films, Janavido Yaro, which also went on to become a cult film. Kundan is a bit of a scatterbrain and looks a little lost on the sets. He exudes a kind of nervous energy, but the nice thing about him is that he trusts the actors and lets them improvise. He does not go strictly by the rule books. The film was made on an extremely low budget, so low that I think the cost of, someone told me the entire cost of Bisleri water during City of Joy, 1993 was 5 lakhs. That was the budget of the film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
That's a fact.
so
one of the
low
facts
that the
about
food came from Kundan's house. His wife cooked with the help of 2 bais, and I remember there would be dudhi, curry and aloo sabzi almost every day. He rarely wanted to break for lunch as time was money, and if he did, he would pick up his plate while the last shot was being taken, and after announcing action, he would start filling up his plate. By the time he said cut, he would start eating. While the shot was being... no, I've got this new chashma and I can't see. So while the shot was being canned, he would urge others, hurry up, eat fast. He had already eaten and he was ready to shoot.
Wow.
Since they could not find a hotel and the shoot was in Alibag, actors would take turns sleeping on the veranda of the shooting bungalow, literally on the floor. The crew the crew members were not so lucky as they had to shoot virtually without a break day and night. Once the DOP, Vinod Pradhan, was found sleeping in an upright position with his eye on the camera. We realized this when no sound came from the camera after the director announced roll camera. It was the poorest film unit I worked with, but it was loads of fun. And that goes on to prove that simply having great sets and locations with a lot of glitter does not necessarily make an everlasting film.
Wonderful. Wonderful. How about you?
No, not so much incidents because, I mean, that's the
But
whole
you handled
book.
like 3 Khans. I
Yeah,
believe there must
I
be
think-
so much of...
I think what is most amazing is that you have to be a nocturnal creature if you're writing about them or interviewing them, because they only sort of wake up after 12 o'clock. So almost every time that I have met any of them has been after 12 o'clock in various places, their hotels and cricket stadiums, their homes. So it's just that with Salman, the drink of the day changes from coffee to Bacardi, but they don't sleep, which is quite amazing. I mean,
Okay.
they all, I don't know when they sleep because...
Seriously,
Yeah.
as in they don't sleep.
Yeah, I mean, they all sleep at what, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock? And that's when you get the best quotes. So you have to be...
So you have to change your schedule just because to write the book.
You have to start sleeping in the day if you want to spend time with them and understand them.
Taking on from
Yeah, that's okay.
taking on from Nandita's example in terms of what Holmes have said, that it's not glittering set in Switzerland that makes a good film. Today, Janavido Yaro is a recognized classic of classics.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so. A cult crew made a cult movie.
Wouldn't the same be for film historians like us who try to do a genuine job? Let's not worry about the sales numbers. If we have done a good research and put it out there, time will tell the story of the book.
Right.
I don't think we've got to see it.
Perfect. Yes. So before we end the session, I would just request you at least one tip you would like to give to everyone that how to write a book on Bollywood or any Bollywood, as in one tip which you think is really very important, or the requirement actually to write a book, maybe related to research.
I
or
think
authoring
one
or
is
whatever.
don't believe everything that they tell you. Cross-check. Absolutely. Because as Amitabh Bachchan told a friend of mine who wrote a book on him, she said, this is what I'm going to write. So he said, you can write whatever you write, it'll be true. Because I am so many things.
perspectives are so-
I am so many things to so many people. But it is a fact. So you have to really cut through a
Yeah.
lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
Some of which they themselves entertain or like to uphold, and you have to make sure you get to the truth.
I would say the same thing. Deep research, get your facts right, and don't be scared to please the people you are writing.
Yeah.
Just be honest.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. No, just write as it is.
Rise as
Write it as it is.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that will make a good book, whether whatever you're writing on a film, on biography, a person, or whatever.
So is it that why the Khan doesn't speak to you now?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's all right. I got my book. I'm quite happy.
I'm quite happy.
Yeah. No, I agree with Kaveri and Nandita. Research.
Research,
Cross-check, cross-check, cross-check.
Yeah.
Assume that what you've written is only 50% accurate. Go back and check it. After every churn, you'll find it improving by 10%.
Yes,
You'll still never reach 100%.
Right.
Second, people want to read a story. Make the story interesting. Try to tell it as a story, right? There, a help of a good editor comes in.
Right. Right.
A good commissioning editor will look for a strong story. Is it something new? He won't necessarily look at how many numbers will it sell. A good, honest commissioning editor, like the ones we have, the books I've written for Harper, they'll look at, will it make for a good story? Will it stand the test of time? They'll look at that. So research, agree with everything and more, and try to write a good story.
Stop.
It has to read like a
Interesting.
story. It has to be interesting.
Yeah.
It has to be interesting.
No, and I think someone once told me something very interesting, which is that write it as if you were the only reader. But you know what the truth is, and you can attest to it. Don't think what will X think or Y think when they read it. Write it as if you're the only reader, only listener, only viewer. Write it for yourself, and that'll be the most authentic.
Awesome. So it was a wonderful discussion, and it's a great pleasure to be a moderator of a panel of such eminent personalities. I'm really thankful to you and thankful to OCLF. And OCLF, kudos to you guys. You're doing really well. And questions, yeah. Now we'll just come to the questions. If there's any question, please, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is that you mentioned that piece, when we could go back and check with for Mr. Ramesh Iyer. Actually, so you could get those kind of people. But now, when you know that you're talking to somebody, I'm just trying to understand your dilemma. When you do some subject and you try to talk to somebody, now, there are, in a lot of people now talks about, when I was with Pancham, and nobody can go and validate it today now. When I was with Pancham, what Pancham said to him, nobody can validate. Just something like that. And you will see invariably a lot of YouTubers have come in, and a lot of people randomly comes from somewhere and they do something. How do you, I'm just trying to understand how it is possible to go to, as you rightly said, it may never be absolute truth, but at least to try to go to the closer, how hard it is actually. And in today's time, wherein a lot of garbage is put onto the social media and everywhere else, how do you kind of, find your way out of it actually?
Yeah. One, try to get the same point of view from alternate sources. Secondly, if we are not innately sure, see, of course, what we do is we reference sources, right? See, I have never met R.D. Burman. But if I'm writing a book on him, neither has Anirudh Bhattacharya met R.D. Burman, but if you're writing a book on him, we look at which are the credible sources of information. Some YouTuber puts it out there. Someone says that, R.D. Burman was so penurious that he had only 5 rupees left with him in that locker and he had become so poor. Now, we met Sachin Bhaumik. Sachin Bhaumik said he was negotiating for a 85 lakh property in Santa Cruz. He was planning to buy that. Then I told him that Sachin Bhaumik said, "Kya karega flat leke? Rehne dena, keep the cash with you." Okay. Ramesh Iyer said, "क्या प्रॉब्लम था पैसे का? आगे पीछे कोई नहीं था. He was alone. पैसे का कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं था." Dr. Mukesh Hariawala said, that the total bill at Princess Grace Hospital for his cardiac surgery came to about 20 lakhs or something in today's money. He said he looked at the bill, signed it, and paid the amount. He used to invite us over for drinks in the evening. He used to wear those silk lungis and aram se take a drink and host dinners for us. There was nothing to suggest that he had a financial problem. So since we got multiple data points, we were able to sort of rubbish the theory that he had first penurious, he left 25 rupees. Why would anyone put a 5 rupee note in a locker?
That's as Kaveree and you said, urban legends.
Urban legends. And do a simple calculation. SD Burman was paid 1 lakh for Aradhana. I'm assuming that RD Burman was paid at least 50,000 from Kati Patang onwards. He did about 10 films on an average all through 70s. Calculate his income. And then he was doing shows. Right? I don't think they really paid income tax or whatever to a certain extent. They were, most of it was in cash. Yeah. Even in 80s, he was still hot right till Sagar. He was hot. A single guy. Apart from some of the money that was paid for his divorce, for his first marriage settlement, which reportedly Ashaji paid, even if she had not paid. Look at how much cash he would have been left with. Even in a time like 1991. So do those calculations. Apply your thought. Don't just pick up what a YouTuber is telling you. If you want to go to a source, go to an authentic source.